Is, you're basically spending all this time and money developing a system that can do the same thing that humans can do, and hearing is an
Right.
important part of that. Again, I'm going to go back to this, and we've discussed this several times. It's like, who's asking for this stuff? I mean, I realize it could be part of the safety thing, but there are probably some privacy concerns with this too. But I can see why it's a logical step forward. It's just a little unsettling to me, I think, is what I'll say.
This is America on the Road, named Best Radio Show by the International Automotive Media Conference, and now in its 32nd year on the air. Thanks for being with us as we bring you the latest automotive information from around the world. I'm Jack Nerad, and with me is co-host Chris Teague. Chris, good to see you again. We haven't talked with each other for a while. You went on a family vacation. How was that?
We did. We went to Florida, had a great time. Very hot and very rainy, but I guess that's to be expected when you're 1,600 miles south of Maine, so I'm sure it'll work.
Yeah, you had some beach time there and some fun park time and all of that, so that's great.
Yeah.
Like that. Plenty of news to talk about this week. There's a new wrinkle in the quest for autonomous vehicles, and we think it's something you'll want to hear about. So stay tuned for more on that. At the same time, Jeep, Mazda, and Porsche are introducing new models. We'll have all the details on those introductions. And Ford Motor Company has set a new record. It's probably not one that they're all that proud of. We'll have additional info on that for you. So we have a lot of news to talk about this week. Chris, is there a story that you're most eager to talk about?
Well, I wrote about the Ford story a few days ago, so I'm actually pretty excited to talk about that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure Ford will be as excited as you are, but we'll bring that to everybody. America on the Road is brought to you by DrivingToday.com, emlancy.com, the publisher of my latest book, Only One Thing Stays the Same, and Mercury Insurance. If you're looking to save some money, you should switch to Mercury for your auto and home insurance. Californians save an average of $670 with Mercury, so imagine how much you could save. Get a quote today at drivingtoday.com/auto insurance. That's drivingtoday.com/auto-insurance. Well, as you longtime listeners to the show know, Chris lives at one corner of the country. I live at the other. We have both been reviewing and writing about cars for years, and each week we get together to talk about cars, the car industry, and how you can save some money on your car. Chris, what is your test vehicle this week?
I spent the week driving the 2025 Ford Bronco Sport, and I can't wait to tell you all about it.
I look forward to your reaction to that vehicle. My test vehicle is the 2025 Toyota Grand Highlander Nightshade Hybrid. My family and I thoroughly tested this vehicle during our annual summer vacation in Texas. We took a lake house in Texas, so we'll tell you about that coming up. Our special guest this week is a really interesting guy. BJ Birtwell is founder of Electrify Expo. And in this era in which EVs are seemingly under fire, he has some very interesting things to say about how things will unfold and how they should unfold. So I think you'll enjoy the interview. So stay with us. We've got tons of show coming up for you. And stay with us right here on America on the Road. Welcome back to America on the Road with Chris Teague, Jack Nerad back with you, and it is news time here on America on the Road. And this is an interesting news story that came in, and I'm curious as to your take on this, Chris. This is about vehicle automation, and researchers in Germany are now equipping cars with microphones to enhance their environmental awareness. I guess we as humans do that, right? we listen to what's going on. It's important that we hear what's going on as we're driving, and so at an intersection, an electric vehicle drives past pedestrian, dog barks on the other side of the street, a cyclist rings a bell. We're doing all this kind of stuff. I mean, this seems like a pretty intelligent thing to do, doesn't it?
I think it is. You're basically spending all this time and money developing a system that can do the same thing that humans can do, and hearing is an
Right.
important part of that. Again, I'm going to go back to this, and we've discussed this several times. It's like, who's asking for this stuff? I mean, I realize it could be part of the safety thing, but there are probably some privacy concerns with this too. But I can see why it's a logical step forward. It's just a little unsettling to me, I think, is what I'll say.
Yeah, I wonder about privacy concerns. That's a good one, and I had not thought of that as I was looking this over. Of course, cars use radar, LiDAR cameras. I mean, I don't know that people realize that they're on camera from a lot of cars all the time. And that's certainly happening, and I don't know about the privacy concerns there, but maybe there's some. Apparently, there's a company or an institute, I guess. It's the Fraunhofer Institute for Digital Media Technology that believes sound is the next frontier when it comes to autonomous cars. They have this really interesting project going on, and they're doing it in conjunction with Volkswagen, their software subsidiary. And it's testing external microphones to see if they can help with this whole autonomous driving thing. They have taken an instrumented vehicle to Sweden. Nice idea. I'd like to take an instrumented vehicle to Sweden just to hang out in
Take any
Sweden.
vehicle to Sweden.
Yeah. Sweden is a great place to do some testing, and they've also done it in Southern Europe to assess performance in heat. So this is part of the Hearing Car Initiative. And in addition to optical systems, I think this might help us with the autonomous car thing.
Yeah, I can see it. I'll take some time to get used to it, but I can see its use.
Yeah. So as you pull up to a stoplight, you'll be listening to what everybody, or your car will be listening to what everybody else is saying and doing and all of that.
Spend a day driving in Boston, the car will hear some interesting things.
I'll bet, yeah. Well, in Los Angeles, it's going to hear things that's going to have to be bleeped out, I'm certain. Well, let's talk about these new models that are coming out. I mean, I think Jeep is still finding its way with Wagoneer. And I'm curious as to your take on that, Chris. But it seems like they've introduced two special edition models, trying to find a sweet spot here to sell more of these Wagoneer vehicles. I think this is a great full size SUV. But what's your take on this?
I think it's a great full-size SUV too, but Jeep has struggled with two things really. Its quality is the first one. They've had a lot of recalls and electronic gremlins in these vehicles, and the second one is the price. You're charging $80,000, $90,000, even $100,000 plus for a Jeep. I think that's a hard sell for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's what these models are trying to address, really. It's the 2025 Jeep Wagoneer Limited and the Wagoneer Super. Oh, I like that, Super. The Wagoneer Limited is based on the Series 2 trim. It's designed for quote-unquote value-focused buyers that want upscale features, but they don't want to have the big price that you just talked about. It's priced at about $77,000, $77,000, including destination. It includes some neat stuff: body color fender flares, chrome badging, black front and rear fascias, Chris's favorite thing, and 22-inch wheels. And it has some nice stuff in terms of power deploying side steps, power folding second and third rows, panoramic sunroof. So, I mean, it's pretty fully equipped for about $77,000. That seems like a better bargain than maybe some of the previous Wagoneers, huh?
I sincerely hate that we are referring to $77,000 as a bargain, but yeah, it is, quite a bit cheaper than the other ones.
Yeah, well, thanks for that reality check. I do appreciate that. When we're talking about the Wagoneer Super, it's more expensive. Its MSRP is $82,000, $82,535. It is blacked out. It has 22-inch black aluminum wheels, a two-tone black roof, premium lighting inside, and the Macintosh 19-speaker audio system. I think that's really nice. That's maybe worth the price of admission, depending on whether you're an audiophile or not. They both come in long and wheelbase configurations. They have the twin-turbo Hurricane 6-cylinder engine that delivers plenty of horsepower, but it's also a 6-cylinder engine, and I wonder if people scratch their head over that, not knowing that, this is a very powerful, terrific engine and delivers good towing capacity, too.
Yeah, a lot of people said that when the Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator moved from the V8 to the twin-turbo V6, but they've done just fine, and I think the Hurricane is every bit as capable as Ford's EcoBoost, so I don't think you lose much other than the sound in this transition.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and so we'll see if this kind of kickstarts Wagoneer sales. I hope so. Mazda has debuted a new 2026 CX-5. Kind of interesting, actually. The CX-5 is coming back around. This is a third-generation model. Mazda claims it has a bold new look, and yet I've seen the photographs of it. It's looks like the old one to me, which is a good-looking vehicle, but I don't think the acorn here has fallen too far from the tree. This is the evolving Kodo design language that they've used for a long time. I think it's a good-looking vehicle, don't get me wrong, but what's your take overall on the new CX-5?
Yeah, I think it looks great, but as you said, it's not a radical departure from the previous generation. I'm more surprised that the CX-5 is still on sale, given that there's the CX-50. I think, we talk a lot about Mazda's propensity to sell hundreds of trims of different vehicles, so I'm mostly surprised that it's still around.
Yeah, and it has largely the same kind of stuff. It has the same basic engine, and in a hybrid version, of course, that is set to come along, but the 187 horsepower, 2.5-liter engine is the base engine. We've seen that engine for a long time. It seems just fine, but there you go. Let's talk a little bit about this Ford story, and you wrote about it. I mean, Ford Motor Company has set a new industry record that's kind of a dubious record. 88 safety recalls in the first half of this year. That's more than any automaker has reported, even for a full calendar year. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it was 2014 General Motors had the last record, and it was like 40-something. It was nowhere near the 80 mark that Ford's got. Listen, Ford is saying that they're doing these recalls proactively to address quality issues, and that's why their recall total is so high this year. They're saying that it will trail off over time as they start to address some of these issues proactively. Look, they've got other things going on too, but this is a big blow to them, especially after Jim Farley, the CEO, came out last year and said, look, we've got to focus on quality. This is going to be something we're going to do. And then to set this benchmark or this milestone, even if it is kind of on purpose from them, doesn't look great.
Yeah, I think from a PR point of view, maybe you want to get these all out of the way at once, right? I mean, this is a big story for a while, but then it goes away and it's all done, as opposed to the death by 1,000 cuts, Chinese water torture, something like that. If you have recalls all the time, maybe the idea is just get these out there, get this behind us, and move on. So we'll see about that. Porsche is unveiling the 26 Taycan Black Edition. Hey, a Black Edition for you. Chris, what do you think? Special edition electric sedan. Deliveries are expected to come in the fall. It has a larger 105 kilowatt-hour performance battery plus. When in rear-wheel drive form, the estimated range is about 318 miles, 294 to 295 miles in other versions. It can fast charge rapidly from 10 to 80% in about 18 minutes. I'd round that up to 20 minutes, something like that. But again, it has all that black stuff that there seems to be no end to this, right, Chris?
Well, people must be buying them because every automaker continues making them. But I actually have less beef with Porsche's application here because they actually upgraded the battery and you get some performance upgrades to go with the black package. It's not just a set of black wheels and some door handles.
Yeah. $120,000 for the lowest price one, $124,000 for the Zootier version. And so look for that. Both Chris and I will be stepping up to that. When we come back, we'll be testing two vehicles, the Ford Bronco Sport and the Toyota Grand Highlander Nightshade Hybrid. So stay with us for that, and we'll be right back right here on America on the Road. I think you'll enjoy the road test we've got coming for you, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road with Chris Teague. This is Jack Nerad back with you. But it's road test time. And some interesting vehicles here, some crossovers that have some family applications. Certainly the vehicle I was driving was our family vacation vehicle. And Chris, you were driving the Ford Bronco Sport. Tell us all about that.
I did. I drove the Bronco Sport, which is the smaller of the two Bronco models that Ford debuted about almost 5 years ago now. It feels like it's just yesterday that happened. But the Bronco Sport is a smaller subcompact vehicle. It's based on the same platform as the Ford Escape. It does have legitimate off-road capability. But before I go too far, Jack, have you recently or any time in the past year driven a Bronco Sport? And what do you think?
I have, and I like them. I don't know that they get enough respect for their off-road ability. I think during the introduction of the Ford Bronco Sport, I had a chance to drive one off-road at some length. And I was really impressed at what it will do. And maybe that's hidden to a lot of people.
Yeah, it does have some pretty serious off-road chops, but taking a step back, you can get into this vehicle for around $32,000. I tested the top Badlands trim, which came out at around $43,000 after some options. But you get four-wheel drive. They call it four-wheel drive. It's probably closer to all-wheel drive, but they come standard with every trim. So you can get the cheapest model here and still get some decent off-road chops. The base engine is a turbocharged 1.5-liter three-cylinder. It makes 181 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque. My test vehicle came with the optional 2.0. It's a turbocharged 2.0-liter four-cylinder, much healthier, 238 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, with an 8-speed automatic transmission and four-wheel drive. So this vehicle is not super quick, Jack, but it is reasonably powerful. You get 277 pound-feet of torque. It's pretty stout for such a small vehicle. I will say that this engine is very buzzy and loud, so it doesn't feel very refined. And I thought that would be the case with the three-cylinder, but it's also the case with the upgraded four-cylinder. The ride quality is pretty good. I mean, I think that the Badlands trim comes with all-terrain tires, so it does a little bit better job of soaking up some of the cracks in the pavement that we like to have. We keep year-round here in Maine, but overall a pretty comfortable ride. Jack, what do you think about sort of having a legitimate off-road capability but a decent on-road ride quality?
I think it's critical for a vehicle, especially like the Bronco Sport. I mean, virtually everybody who buys one of these is going to be using it as their daily driver. They're going to be driving back and forth to work. They're going to be on pavement most of the time, right? So it's critical that it perform well in that kind of situation, and I think it does. And at the same time, as you say, a good off-road chops. So I think it's a nice compromise for a lot of people who want to do some off-roading, but don't want to spend a ton of money and have to commute in their vehicle every day.
Yeah, I agree, especially when we were just talking about $77,000 being a bargain for the Jeep, $35,000 Bronco. It doesn't seem so bad.
Right.
And outside of some wind and road noise, it's really just as good on-road as it is off. So I think that's the benefit of the configuration here. Inside, you get 5 seats. The front seats are very spacious, nicely padded, very comfortable. The back seats are a little tight on legroom, and I say that because if you have a kid in a car seat, you might be fighting for some position with legroom back there. But the Bronco Sport is very tall, so you get plenty of headroom inside and the back, especially, or even for adults, I should say. My Badlands tester came with synthetic leather upholstery. It had microfiber inserts, heated front seats, heated steering wheel. Excuse me. And the one thing I want to point out here is if you are using this as a daily driver, the cabin is not quite as nice as you're probably going to expect from something like a Ford Escape or a Ford Explorer. It does feel more utilitarian. It's a little bit more stripped down, and the materials are a little bit cheaper, more hard touch plastics, and everything is a little bit beefier insides to stand up to the off-road abuse. But I would say also with 2 kids, a dog, you're going to be perfectly comfortable in this vehicle, and you've got enough room to do just about anything that you want. You get a 13.2-inch touchscreen, which is a larger than expected display in a vehicle of this size. 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. Jack, this system runs Ford Sync 4 infotainment. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think the Ranger has Ford Sync 4 too, and they've now gone beyond that. So when we talk about Sync 4, it seems like the older system. I guess it seems like it because it is. And I don't think it's as zooty as their most recent system that is Google-based. It works just fine, but I don't think it's state-of-the-art, right?
Yeah, I don't think you would find a problem with that unless you were using the 2 systems back to back, though, because
Right.
Sync 4 is still pretty straightforward. It's very responsive, and it's easy to use while you're driving, which I think is one of the big things for me with Ford and also with Stellantis, who has one of my favorite systems. So wireless phone charging comes standard. You get Bluetooth, Sirius XM radio, all around a very well-equipped package here, even in the lower trim levels. And then my test trim came with a full package of safety equipment, so blind spot monitoring, forward cross traffic alerts, etc. I think if you can live without some of the niceties like a sunroof and some of the nicer upholstery here, Jack, one of the mid-range trims, the Outer Banks is $36,000. You could get into this vehicle, still get the off-road capability, and save a few $1,000s in the process.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And the good thing about the Bronco Sport is you can kind of equip it for what you're going to do, right? I mean, there's various levels of off-roading that you can look at, or maybe not very much off-roading at all, but kind of profiling, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So pretty cool. I think it's a good vehicle.
I agree.
Well, I had a chance. I always like to talk about this vehicle in particular. It's a vehicle that we take on our summer vacation. We have been taking a lake house in Texas for the last 5 years and getting a vehicle and driving it down there and just driving it throughout the week. And this time around, the vehicle tested was the 2025 Toyota Grand Highlander Nightshade Hybrid. It's a mid-size 3-row SUV. It's assembled here in Princeton, Indiana. Not that I'm in Princeton, Indiana, but by here I mean in the United States. And it has Toyota's hybrid powertrain and the Nightshade trim package, of course, another blackout package. And I think it's pretty good looking. It kind of not in your face blackout. It has, let's talk about the looks, the aesthetics to get that behind us. 20-inch black alloy wheels, blackout exterior accents, the grille, the mirror caps, the badging, that's black. We had they call it the color cement. It's kind of a gray color, a good-looking color, nondescript color. And the package also includes heated power mirrors, rain-sensing wipers. We get plenty of rain in Texas to deal with that. Hands-free power liftgate, and then some other stuff, crossbars for the roof rack, logo puddle lamps, a la Lexus, things like that, a panoramic view monitor. So it's got a lot of good stuff. I think it was well equipped. This is a vehicle that there are actually a couple of hybrid systems that you can get. This had the kind of the lesser of the two hybrid systems. And I was kind of surprised by that, but I pleasantly surprised. It doesn't provide tons of horsepower, 245 horsepower. And we had this thing heavily loaded down with, many adults and immense amounts of luggage, I can tell you that, including a blow-up, stand-up paddleboard and all kinds of stuff from my 3 daughters and wife, who don't exactly travel light when they're traveling, but it was more than up to the thing. And I think partly because of the torque generated by the electric motor. I mean, what's your overall take on these hybrid systems that we're seeing in a lot of Toyotas these days?
I think Toyota does it as good as, if not better than, almost anybody else. They've done a good job refining the way the system feels, so it's not jerky. There's not a lot of disjointed feeling going on underneath. And as you say, the torque from the electric motor does make it feel quicker, even if it's not technically fast.
Yeah. Nice EPA numbers, the nice fuel economy numbers, 36 miles per gallon in the city, 32 miles per gallon on the highway, 34 miles per gallon combined. And I saw this during our lengthy driving. I mean, that was a very nice surprise. It doesn't have the most giant towing capacity of all time, 3,500 pounds. We didn't tow anything anyway. But I liked it a lot. And I think this was enough power. You can get the hybrid max powertrain. That produces 362 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, so, much stouter. But this worked out just fine for our family. And as I say, we were hauling a lot of luggage, and very often we were hauling as many as 7 people inside. It can seat up to 8 people who like each other a lot. If you have the middle bench seat, we had captain's chairs back there, so it was 3 across in the rear seat where we put 3 adults back there who were okay with it, but I don't think they would have been loving a long ride back there. It was a fairly short ride, half an hour ride they were fine with. Beyond that, I think we were going to get a little bit of crankiness and maybe some motion sickness and that kind of stuff. Leather trim seats, heated second row seats, 3-zone automatic climate system, which is good. The driver interface had a 12.3 inch, a couple of 12.3 inch screens, the digital gauge cluster and the central touch screen, and the Toyota multimedia system, which I think works really well. What's your take on that, Chris?
Yeah, I really enjoy the changes that Toyota made a couple of years ago now to some of these systems. It's a lot more fluid, more responsive, and as I said earlier, it's less distracting to use while you're driving.
Yeah. It had Sirius XM. It connected with Apple CarPlay very, very simply, which is nice, and that worked just fine. We use that as our navigation of choice. It has an inverter, so you have 2 120-volt, essentially household outlets in the cabin if you wanted to plug in a laptop or something like that. I think overall the comfort is quite good. It's not, we have a Chevy Tahoe, as I think a lot of you longtime listeners know, so we have that going for us, but typically not quite that big, but we liked it a lot, and I think this is a vehicle that you might want to look at. Let me get to the price real quickly because we're running out of time here. And the price is about $57,000, something like that. There it is. It's actually less than that. $52,610 is the price for this vehicle. And Chris, can I say that's a bargain?
You can say it's a bargain. It's more of a bargain than $77,000.
Yeah. $58,000 as equipped, so we liked it a lot, and it was just a perfect vehicle for our vacation, and I think it'll be a perfect vehicle for a lot of people's vacations coming up. So, and we have a great guest coming up. BJ Birtwell is founder of Electrify Expo, so look for that interview with him coming right after the break, and stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road. Jack Nerad back with you. We're so glad you're with us, and we have a terrific guest for you. I've been wanting to talk to BJ Birtwell for a while now, the prime mover behind Electrify Expo across the country, and now I'm getting to see you face to face. BJ, good to talk with you.
You too, Jack. Good to talk with you, and looking forward to this.
Well, tell us all about Electrify Expo. I mean, this has grown to be a very, very big thing across the country, multiple opportunities to visit this. Tell us how this started and where you're at now.
Well, it's an odd story. Who would have thought a car guy would actually start an EV festival? Because, if you're a car guy, you grow up customizing cars, tuning cars, making them look cooler and go faster. And, you don't really, you think that if you can't hear it and you can't smell it, well, that's how I looked at things. I felt like if you couldn't hear it or smell it, you'd never get me behind the wheel of it. And, I really felt like EVs lacked a soul. That's just how a lot of car guys feel. And I think that car guys still feel that way today. But I had my whole mind made up about EVs before I had even driven one. And then I drove one, and I had my light bulb moment, and everything changed after that. And my background is in producing large live events and concerts and festivals and all motorsports series, and we were looking for the next thing, and I really felt like there were people out there like me who weren't, going to go electric because, it was more of an environmentally conscious decision or an eco-conscious decision, or they were about sustainability. Like, those were not motivators for me to go electric. And I felt like, all right, if I put butts in seats, if I put people behind the wheel of these vehicles, will their perception change like mine did? And that's exactly what has been, the genesis of the idea, the concept behind Electrify Expo, and it's obviously working. We were in 3 locations. We were a 3-tour stop schedule just 3.5 years ago. Now we're an 8-stop schedule, and we're taking over 1.5 million square feet of space everywhere we go. So it's really grown into a fun thing, and we're really getting into a very interesting phase of EV adoption now.
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating, and I want to talk about that. But you're coming off, I think, a pretty successful event here in Los Angeles area. And I think the next one is Seattle, if I know my calendar right. And tell us about the stops that you have through the year.
Yeah, we just came off of our LA stop. We had been at the Long Beach Convention Center for a couple years, but we outgrew that space. And so we ended up brokering a deal over at the port of LA. And we took over a very large footprint over there. And it was our first year there, and it's just a massive footprint. And it was awesome to see this concept really come to fruition in a way where I felt like this stop in LA, it's actually in San Pedro, could be, in my opinion, eventually the most pivotal event in our industry as it builds out, because it's almost like South by Southwest meets CES, and except everything's outdoor, open air, and festival like. It really, we just have the amount of space to bring the idea to life in LA. But outside of LA, we are in Florida, we're in Arizona. After LA, we'll head to Seattle, like you said, and then after Seattle, we head east. So we go to Chicago and New York. We come back to Dallas. So we head up to San Francisco. So we were hitting all of the major markets that are showing kind of the the big EV adoption trends or the curve. And we're taking Electrify Expo to those locations to drive broader EV adoption now amongst people who are really more skeptical and curious about EVs.
Yeah. Let's. Well, what can a visitor to Electrify Expo expect to see when they arrive? You know, what's it? What's the event like for them?
Well, it's nothing like an auto show. It's more like a festival. I mean, when you walk into Electrify Expo, there's movement everywhere. So when you walk into an auto show, you're in a convention center and you're looking at stuff behind a velvet rope, and it feels kind of stuffy and formal, more corporate. And when you walk into Electrify Expo, there's music, there's food trucks, there's demo experiences everywhere, whether it's electric cars or trucks, but it could also be electric motorcycles, electric bikes, electric scooters, electric skateboards. In some cases, we have electric watercraft, electric boats, electric personal watercraft. So it's just, it's very experiential and highly interactive. But everything's outdoor. So it's really a family. It's targeted to families who want to come out and spend a day or a half day at a festival like this and try before you buy. That's the whole idea, is that we're really wanting to target people who are in market for something electric and then give them an experience in one and then let them make the decision on whether or not electric is right for them.
Yeah, and I think it's beyond people who are the early adopters of electrics now, right? I mean, probably all the early adopters have already adopted electrics, and now broadening the base, I think, is important for all the car manufacturers, certainly. And you go well beyond that. We've had electric motorbike makers on this show as well, and that stuff's very cool and just going through the roof, I think, in terms of popularity. But getting people to experience an electric vehicle, it's not exactly what they expect, is it?
No, it's not. And if it was, I don't think we would even have the organic adoption that we have today. I mean, basically 1 out of every 4 vehicles sold in the U.S. is some form of electric vehicle, whether it's a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid or an electric vehicle. I think that metric doesn't get shared enough. And hybrid and plug-in electric vehicles are pretty much the gateway to a fully electric vehicle because of the standard and obvious misconceptions that people have about EVs. So we're really, if you think about the technology S-curve of an iPhone or anything that's technology driven, you have all of the early adopters who come in and they're the first wave, kind of setting the framework or the groundwork for more adoption. And that's where we find ourselves today. You're absolutely right. Like, early adopters have come through, and now we're at that stage where we're still growing, but we're at that level where we're about to really start to see what is next. The next phase is the early majority phase. And that's what we're experiencing right now. In fact, we breathe it at Electrify Expo because we're on the street. Like, we see the people on the street that are coming into the event. And the psychographics have changed quite a bit from 3 years ago to today. You can just tell that by the type of people that are coming in, which is great. So things are really changing, and really I'm not fearing the mandates going away or the incentives or the rebates going away, because at this point, EVs can live on their own merit. I don't know if I could have said that 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
The automakers have done a really good job of just peppering the industry with a ton of different makes and models. It's no longer a one-horse race. So, when you walk into Electrify Expo, there might be 60, 70, 80 different trims of vehicles to look at across passenger cars, trucks, 7-seat SUVs, sports cars, everything. And then there's different trims of all those cars. So there's really something for everybody now. And, EVs go further than they ever have. They charge faster than they ever have. So a lot of these outdated perceptions are being, answered.
And let's talk about that a little bit, BJ, because I think most of our listeners probably have never even sat in an EV, a lot less driven in one, even at this point, right? what are we, 15, 20, almost 20 years into electric vehicles being available in the United States on kind of a mass market basis. And electrified vehicles even longer than that. I mean, my long dead father had a first generation Prius, for example. So it goes way, way back. What are some of the misconceptions that people have about EVs that you'd like to solve?
Well, there's three majors, and they're important to talk about. The vehicle that I drive, I always start here because it blows people away when I tell them that my EV has 500 miles of range. They don't expect that out of an electric car because they're used to hearing that, you can go 100 miles or 80 miles on an electric vehicle, not 500. But that's where we've been headed, and that's where we are now with electric vehicles, is that pretty much every new electric vehicle sold today has at least 300 miles of range. And then you can go up from there based on how you trim it out. So I think one major misconception is still EVs can't go far enough. They don't go far enough on a charge. That is a 3 to 4 year old outdated misconception that people have to unlearn when they come to our festivals, and they quickly realize that, technology has changed. The other big one is that EVs are affordable. It used to be a one horse race, and those electric vehicles were pretty expensive. But nowadays, these EVs have come way down in price. And, you've seen the incentives out there. You can get into an EV right now for $207 a month, $300 a month now. So it's really, a very practical form of transportation, but you don't really realize that until you start driving it. You start driving by gas stations. You no longer have to maintain a vehicle, which is, in my book, kind of a win-loss, because I love working on cars. I like changing my own oil. I like doing that stuff, but you don't do it obviously in an electric car. There's no maintenance. There's not a lot of maintenance. So the only thing that you really maintain on an electric car are your tires.
Right.
And those tires will last depending on how heavy your right foot is. So, but those are the two big misconceptions that I think people have to unlearn nowadays.
Right. You've already talked about kind of the elephant in the room, right? We're going to see, and we've reported on the show, the fact that tax incentives are very likely to go away on electric vehicles. That's in some ways a game changer, but how do you think that's going to affect sales?
Well, to answer that question, I think I'd like to just kind of put my opinion on this, is that EVs should have never been politicized to begin with. I mean, I think that it really alienated half the population, and it really stunted the opportunity to grow broader EV adoption across the country in a way that we've seen it grow elsewhere in the world. And the more that you tell Americans what they need to drive or what they need to eat, or what they need to wear, or whatever it is, there is a natural skepticism around, well, why is the government telling me this? And unfortunately, that's been following the EV industry around like a shadow since, I can remember. So I think that now that it feels more like a free market, like EVs have to live on their own merit, if that mandate does go away and if the incentive does go away, it's going to allow EVs to not have this cloud around it, like it's something that has to be propped up. And I think as we go into the early majority phase of that S-curve, that is something that is going to bode very well for the EV industry, because I feel like that demographic would rather see EVs play in a free market and not necessarily be propped up by any sort of incentive or rebate. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see any incentive or rebate that would allow EVs to continue to grow. But I'm not under the opinion that it's EVs or nothing. I think that EVs are not a good choice for some people, and for some people they are a great choice. And it just really you just lean on the individual's needs, what their lifestyle is, on whether or not EVs are right for them. And what I always tell people about Electrify Expo is like, hey, look, we're not there to go tell people that they must go buy an EV. We're just there to provide 1 million square feet of experiences and allow you to make the decision on whether or not electric vehicles are right for you. And I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm a car guy from way back. You can tell I'm not exactly young. And But I love EVs. I mean, I've driven tons of them, and they're terrific. I'd like to see them stand on their own. I don't know that taxpayers need to pay other people to buy them, but I think they're terrific, and I'd like to see them go forward. And I think what you're doing is absolutely spot on. I think it's really, really cool. Tell us a little bit about, again, your next events and how people can find out about them, BJ.
Wonderful. Yeah, we have 5 remaining events this year. We head to Seattle here in a couple weeks in mid-July, and then we hop up to San Francisco. We head over to Chicago, then New York, and then Dallas. And you can find our whole schedule at electrifyexpo.com. Come on out. If we have an event near you, bring your family, bring your friends, and come on and learn what you think you know about EVs. Come out and have a great time.
Yeah, they're really cool, and I think I spoke at Electrify Expo a couple years ago. I was lucky enough to be on the stage there, so that was fun. And I encourage everybody to do that. Look for that, Electrify Expo. And BJ Birtwell, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
Great to be with you. And stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back right here on America on the Road. Welcome back to America on the Road with co-host Chris Teague. This is Jack Nerad with you, and I always get a little nostalgic as we end the show here. This is our final segment. It's always great to talk with Chris about cars. And we have a listener question that I think is a good one, and I'm really curious as to what Chris has to say with this. We, of course, love to get your questions and comments. Send them to editor@drivingtoday.com, editor@drivingtoday.com. Chris is a guy who turns over cars like I change shirts. Here's the question from Perry in St. Paul, Minnesota. What's a car you regret selling or wish you had bought?
Ooh. Well, for me, it was a car that ended up getting wrecked. It was a 1995 Lexus SC300 with a manual transmission, and it was in great shape. It had Toyota's legendary 1JZ engine, and it was a very nice car, but it lasted about 13 days before someone ran into it. So that's my answer. How about you?
Yeah. Well, dating way, way back when I was first getting a car, I had the chance to buy a 1939 LaSalle Opera Coupe. And if you look it up, because it is a really cool looking car, and I could have bought it for $50. $50. Instead, I wanted something a little older. I ended up buying my 1926 Nash, which I still have and love. But man, that was such a cool car. And if you look up 39 LaSalle Opera Coupe, a lot of people have no idea what an Opera Coupe is, what a LaSalle is, all of that stuff. But a very, very cool car.
Cool.
And I wish I had bought it, I guess. I don't know what I would have done with it, but I would have had it, and it was a cool one. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. Of course, my new crime novel, Only One Thing Stays the Same, is available in both ebook and paperback form at Amazon. We have links to the book in the show notes. If you like our show, please pass it on. Listen on this radio station each week. Let your friends know where you hear America on the Road. We would appreciate that. And, of course, we're available as a podcast. Correct, Chris?
That is correct. A quick Google search for the America on the Road podcast will bring us to you on all the major platforms, Apple, Spotify, all the rest. Like us, download us, leave us a review. All of those things help us out, and you can take us with you wherever you go.
We'd love to be with you. We really would. Our thanks to Mercury Insurance for sponsoring the show, and to our Sports Byline Network stations for carrying it. We do appreciate that. Most of all, thanks to you for listening to America on the Road. We know you have a lot of choices, so we're honored by the fact that you listen to America on the Road, and we hope you'll join us again next time when we will have a special, because America on the Road is going to be on the road next week. So look for that coming up, and we'll be with you then.